Harry Reid and the Democrats, tax reform is another way of saying tax increases. They want to cut deductions big time and add an extra $1 trillion to tax revenue through the next decade through higher taxation. Come on in, Congressman Kevin Brady, Republican from Texas. I think we're abusing the word tax reform. Tax reform to you and I'm pretty sure means lower rates, fewer deductions, grow the economy so you grow tax revenue. That's what I think tax reform is for you and I. But for Senator Reid and most Democrats, it is essentially a tax increase. And I say, despite your good intentions and your star power in Congress, Congressman Brady, you haven't got a prayer of getting real tax reform through this Congress. What say you?
Strongly disagree. Look, I think I've just finished, I'm about halfway through 30 town hall meetings focused on tax reform. People have had enough, the IRS in this tax code. For families, small businesses, they just, they want simpler, fair tax code that protects them as taxpayers, not special interests. And they want a tax code that helps America compete and win. And what they don't believe is that tax reform should bail out Washington's spending problems, like Harry Reid suggests. What most of us believe is that spending cuts get us about halfway to a balanced budget, but strong economic growth through tax reform gets us the rest of the way. So we think strong growth through tax reform actually is a very strong force toward balancing this budget. Tax increases actually harm the economy.
I don't think there's a single viewer of Varney and Company who would disagree with you, Congressman. I think you're in lockstep with our viewers, flat out. But in many parts of the country, tax the rich is a political winner.
Well, it may be a political winner, but the truth is America now has the most progressive, if you call it that, tax code in the world. We're heaping more and more taxes on fewer and fewer people, and you can't continue that. And I think we ought to let the constitutional process work. The House is going to deliver the first real tax reform since President Reagan. The Senate says it's going to. They've got a lot of work to do to deliver, but my point is, let us both deliver our best ideas out of our chambers this year, and then let's go to work to resolve the differences.
Is that how you see the timetable progressing? The House will do something concrete, real tax reform. The Senate will have a version, all of it this year. You think that's going to happen, really?
I never want to guarantee the Senate, but in the House, Chairman Dave Camp is leading us on to a first full reform draft when we return in the fall, with committee action in the fall as well. We're hopeful that we can move it through the House. What the Senate does in their timetable, is anybody's guess.
But just so we're on the same page, tax reform to you guys in the House is lower tax rates, fewer deductions, grow the economy, grow tax revenues that way. That's what you call tax reform, correct?
It ought to be built for growth, for our families, for our companies, for our economy. We know it can be done. It can be much simpler, much fairer, much flatter, without all the loopholes and deductions and exemptions. We think that's the right way to do that.
Well, Congressman Kevin Brady, we'd really appreciate it if you came back and told us any progress on this, because I think most of our viewers are rooting for you. Thanks very much indeed, sir.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, sir.